Hello. The New York State Senate gay marriage issue continues. I'm trying to follow this on the internet and in my local newspaper. One source reports that the issue is over property tax cap, which I have no problem with. Rent control, which is an absolute necessity, which I have no problem with either. And allowing gay people to be married. If we believe the Republican opponents, their main concern now seems to be specious at best. This one person says that his concern is to protect groups that oppose same-sex marriage from facing lawsuits if they refuse service to gay couples. Like these here niggas, we ain't gonna serve them in our all-white lunch bar. It's just not our custom in this here parish. It's the same mentality. There was one report, I think it was by a Catholic group or the Catholic Church, saying that the whole thing was like the new Red Scare. But actually, it is a civil rights issue. It's very similar to the problems that black people had, but just, keep in mind that there are black people that are gay too. I think that possibly the worst situation is for a black gay woman. Obama's president and all, but we still have this issue lingering regarding behavior, essentially, what you decide to do with your sexuality, who you decide to be in love with or have sex with, or whatever you want to refer to it as. Everything has become so fetishized, it's nearly impossible to talk about anything otherwise. No one knows what the hell you're talking about. Well, going back to the June 17th newspaper from the Press Sun Bulletin, something in here says that Greg Ball, from Republican from Patterson, Putnam County, says that the current bill doesn't protect church-related agencies from denial of funding by the state and local government agencies if they don't recognize same-sex marriage. Well, I mean, there you go with federal issues to begin with. Why is the state of New York establishing religion by funding religious-related agencies? What is that all about? I don't see how these people seriously think that they could defeat federal issues regarding this question, particularly in terms of religion and religious discrimination. So I don't believe their concerns. I think that at best they're probably telling these religious fanatics bullshit in order for them to continue to vote Republican. But no person that's knowledgeable of the law is going to expect that something that a state could do legislatively is going to somehow deny the federal judiciary jurisdiction over a federal question. Now, this local judge down here, Lord McAvoy, is opposed to the First Amendment. Cuomo told him to dismiss a case regarding my forceful removal from an on-air broadcast at the State University of New York at Binghamton by employees, by state employees. They violated my First Amendment rights, allegedly because I said shit, or because I aired a sound recording at 4 a.m. that contained the word shit. Not because of my religious or political views or anything like that. The man said shit. So I don't know if Lord McAvoy voted that way because Cuomo instructed him to, which Cuomo did when he was New York State Attorney General. He told him, you got to dismiss this case, Tom. It's just the local economy. It's too dependent, or whether Tom McAvoy is just one of these Diamondback Southern Confederates, one of these states' rights guys. But some of these things that are lost in capitalist media. There's a documentary produced and directed by a person named Malcolm Ingram called Small Town Gay Bar. It's about this place called Lake County, Mississippi, and a town called Shannon. Now, one of the things that happened down there was that this 18-year-old boy named Scotty Weaver was murdered and mutilated because he was a drag queen. This took place in July 2004. And there was a person in this documentary named Reverend Fred Phelps, who is the minister at Westboro Baptist Church. And his motto or statement throughout this documentary is, quote, God hates fags, unquote. And there was a instance involving a place called Gage Park, where these people from the Westboro Baptist Church were harassing people in the park and also picketing churches in Topeka, Kansas, because apparently these churches allowed gay people on their premises. So this is just to give you an idea of what some of these religious groups are that they're talking about. The Republicans wheedle out these fringe elements of Judaism or whatever, to make it look like this is a mainstream religious issue, when really it's not. Some Protestant organization representing all the Protestants in the United States or something came out and said they're not going to discriminate against gay couples. And other churches have, the United Methodists. So it's not a mainstream religious issue at all. And some of you people that follow or used to follow the First Amendment before the Democrats decided to, let's bring states' rights back into the pot. And we miss them good old boys and them good old times like we used to have there when Strom Thurmond and all them fellas was alive. This guy Donald Wildman, who founded the American Family Association. I think that was founded, if my notes are correct, 1977. And then his son, Jim Wildman, took over in 1986. The quote from Jim Wildman is, quote, "We're against groups that try to revolutionize the culture," unquote. Revolutionize the culture. What does that mean exactly? Some sort of cultural protection? The government is supposed to protect culture somehow. Who defines culture? The government defines culture? It almost sounds Maoist. The Cultural Revolution? I don't know. But the person that made this documentary asked this Fred Phelps person if a person found out they were gay, what would you tell them? Quote, "You're going to hell. There's nothing you could do about it, and have a nice day." unquote, you know. Now, I can't say with 100% certainty that this represents all of the religious groups that are opposed to gay marriage, but I could say on here and feel that I'm being honest to myself and honest to you by telling you that I feel that probably 99.9% of the religious groups that oppose gay marriage are represented by this Fred Phelps person. That this is essentially how they feel. Because when you're talking about religious discrimination and the First Amendment and whatnot, you're essentially talking about the same mentality that was involved with separate but equal. We ain't going to allow them in here in our lunch counters. We don't want them using our toilet seats. Who knows what sort of diseases they may have? It's the exact same mentality. And I think that it's despicable that, well, I mean, they're Republicans. What could you expect, really? But I think it's despicable that they use bogus promises to these religious groups that don't have a snowball's chance in hell in the federal judiciary, unless the federal judiciary has now completely and thoroughly been overwhelmed with people like Tom McAvoy and other right-wing radical subversives that are going to vote states' rights. You know, it's like these people are still battling the Civil War. This is what's going on here. So I think that some of these Republicans are going to realize that what they're doing can't be sustained. And that if they're going to vote against this, they're probably not going to get reelected. So I feel that this is going to pass. I just have mixed feelings about it. I don't really know, in the first place, I don't know why you have to pass legislation to allow someone to do something. Because once you do that, you're essentially saying that it's a majoritarian issue. For example, if Roe v. Wade did not exist, which is what the Republicans want, they want to abolish Roe v. Wade. You know, as they say, send it back to the states. It's the states' rights. Let the people in the state decide democratically. You know, your reproductive rights, you as a woman, control over your body would be subject to the whim of a majority. And that's the problem I see with this. You know, Obama is black and he was elected president, but look how many years it took for him to be elected president. If you go back and you think in terms of Martin Luther King. So how long is it going to be before a person that's considering heterosexual marriage right now has a son that turns out to be gay, grows up and he's 17, 18 years old, and people are spitting on him and beating him up, and you know, because he's gay, and you can't go here and you can't go there and you can't use this restroom and you can't use this whatever. You know, what it really comes down to is it doesn't come down to the government. It comes down to you. It comes down to how you feel and what you want for your children. If you're going to still do the baby game, get married and make children to populate Israel or to populate the West, go West, young man, all of which is obsolete. But if you're still going to do that, think about the fate of your children when they grow up. Do you want to impose a life of misery on them? Because the only way that that's going to happen is if you keep voting for Republicans that oppose these sorts of things, because nobody's going to make that person's, your child's life miserable except